And welcome back to another episode of the Brutally Honest Loan Officer Podcast. I am Stephen Brock, and with me, as always, is Mr. Derek Brown. We are lenders in South Florida, or actually all of Florida, Central,
Florida.
South, rural Florida. And we have a special guest today, Mr. Brett Boettge.
You nailed that.
Woo! Got it.
You
I
nailed
was
that.
I
Well
was
done.
nervous. I was like, oh wait, I got a lot to say before I can say his last name and forget it.
Mhm.
But
No, you
hey,
crushed
Boji,
it.
not how it's spelled. Let's
not.
just so if you like what Brett has to say and you want to look him up, I need you to understand his name is spelled differently than the way it
It
sounds.
Yeah,
it definitely is.
it
Well, I'm
definitely
super
is.
happy super happy to be here, guys. Thanks for having me
Oh,
today.
thank
Yeah.
you. Well, we
Thanks for
always
coming
like
on.
to start this off with the icebreaker question that we didn't prepare you for.
Oh, super. Good.
Do you
I love those.
believe in aliens?
100%. 100%. How could you not believe in aliens? It is an
Oh,
infinite universe out there. I mean, did we win the lottery at that high of a level? I don't know.
Okay,
What
Derek,
about you?
do you think that they have come to Earth?
I do not think that they have come to
Okay,
Earth.
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, then I'm on the same page as him. I can agree with that. I think that there's something else out there. It's infinite. How
Yeah,
can there not be?
that would be insane. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like I'm lucky in life, but that would be a statistical improbability there for sure.
hmm
Yeah. Okay, so Brett Boji, you're a licensed realtor. Tell us a little bit about your background. Like, how did you get into real estate? How long you been doing it?
Gotcha. About 20 years. I know that you guys tried to book my wife and she was busy. So she is the other part of this equation today. So you get the B team. And she would tell you if she was sitting right next to me right now that she's been doing it 6 months longer than I have. So we were both licensed in the early, I don't know, 2005, 2006 era. So
Okay.
pre the big uh, pre the big housing bust out there, and we lived through that. We've been full-time real estate brokers ever since then. Started in Wisconsin. Um, Backing up a little farther, right out of high school, I enrolled in local tech college associates program for real estate. And I can't tell you exactly why I chose that path, but I did. And then I got derailed for a moment and came across a book in a Goodwill store that was a it was Chris Lytle's The Accidental Salesperson. I'm like, you know what? I think I could do this. This seems legit. So then I started rocking the gold coat at Century 21, and I had my little briefcase, with 007 as the code on that briefcase. I felt like a secret agent out there. And then I've been doing it ever since. So that was Wisconsin, became a team leader and broker for Keller Williams Realty in Wisconsin. 2011, 10 or 11,
Yeah.
relocated to Florida, where I was the broker for Keller Williams Realty on PGA Boulevard. 2014, I resigned there and joined the whole time I was doing all that brokering, my wife was selling houses. So 2014, I joined her and we've been selling houses for the last, whatever it is,
So
11
the
years
Keller
now.
Williams brokerage, was that what moved you down to Florida?
No, weather.
Yeah, that'll
So
do it.
we would have sold. I mean, in Wisconsin, it was like -10 in April, and
No
we both
thanks.
kind of looked at each other and said, let's get out of here." And we didn't know if we were going to sell smoothies on the beach or sell real estate. We just knew that we wanted to leave Wisconsin. So, after surveying the entire state of Florida, this is the only place in Florida that has what I would consider a coastal year-round economy. And that was very important to us. Wisconsinites typically gravitate towards Naples and that Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
They just take I-75 down, so that would have been a natural fit for us. But there was nobody there in July, not a soul.
No.
So it didn't make sense.
Gotcha.
I was just over there. You could tell like season just ended.
Yeah, it's
My dad
done.
lives over there. But he's a, seasonal person too, but it was right before he's gonna leave, so we went there and there's like he's like, "Oh yeah, usually it's like a 45-minute wait for this restaurant." And like they're like, "Come in." And there's like
Yeah,
three other people there.
right. It's
So,
BOGO tonight.
yep.
BOGO, just come in here.
Just please somebody come here.
Yeah,
It's amazing. It's like somebody just turns off that faucet, they all leave. That's it. Just
right.
like that quickly.
Gotcha. All right. Well, and then so you just came to Florida and immediately just kept doing real estate.
Yes. So
Okay.
in that process, so I just had launched 3 or 4 offices in Wisconsin and told them I was going to resign. And then we came up with a plan to go ahead and do that because I had just launched those offices. So it was a 6-month transition plan out. And during those 6 months, somewhere along the line, we got connected with the Keller Williams Realty office down here. And that was a natural fit since that's what I was doing up there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I know. So two different markets for sure. How has the market evolved, since you've been in Florida, and how do you see it changing, going into the future now?
So I mean, it's a dramatic shift from Wisconsin real estate to Florida real estate, first of all. So here you've got a very transient population. People are coming and going. Where in Wisconsin, people are moving down the street.
Yeah.
It's like 3 doors down. That's where we're going to go. We've been watching that house for 15 years, and that's where we want to move. And now it's for sale. So we're going to do that. So here there's a lot more activity, just generally speaking, a lot more agents. So in our market here, we've got 40 to 45,000 agents that
Yeah.
serve the MLS zone here. Our entire board for Southern Wisconsin was 3,000 agents. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
just from a competition standpoint, it was remarkable. What we found down here is that there was a lot of part-time or non ultra
Yeah, people that have
real
the
estate
license but they don't close.
Yeah, what is that
Exactly.
statistic that
Actively
they're like
working.
70% did one deal or less?
I mean, it's got to be pretty high. So what we
Yeah.
found here, it was like 1 ounce of effort went 10 times farther than it went in Wisconsin. So it was like, it was really rewarding to go ahead and just, because you could immediately see that people could tell the difference between the quality of work. And if you're not a social real estate agent, that is a key piece of the puzzle. And I am not a happy hour going social real estate agent that's out there and just knows everybody. The people that we work with have to respect quality of work. Otherwise, they're going to choose their best friend at happy hour. So,
Yeah.
so it's been interesting. And I can tell you the quality of the top tier agents in our market, just the sheer quality of, the marketing value that they bring has evolved dramatically from when we got to Florida to today. Like it is top notch in that top tier. So it's very competitive in that luxury market. And even on a $750,000 listing, I mean, people are pulling out all the stops. So it's really cool to see that. And then it makes the cell phone photo listing stand out pretty dramatically. Still a few people doing that.
Yeah, I definitely, you still like, oh my gosh, you have $1 million listing and I mean, granted, phones can take some amazing pictures, but
But they
there
don't
is
put the toilet seat down for you.
they
They do not put the toilet seat down for you.
do not. They don't.
Yeah. I still don't, even on a lower price listing, I don't understand why. Just hire a photographer. I mean, it's really that simple. I mean, the expense that it would be is going to be covered by, the sales price you're going to get. I mean, everybody
100%.
looks online first. I
100%.
cannot tell you in the last 5 years, anybody that decided to walk into an open house without even like just from a sign that was put up, everybody has looked online first.
Yep.
And then they see that there's an open house and they want to go to it. Other than I will say like nosy neighbor type, maybe, but otherwise, no, people are looking online first. So sell it first with photos.
Yeah, it's not just, if you think of marketing a listing, you're auditioning for your next listing at the same time. So it's not like when I get the $4 million listing, then I'll do the great marketing. It's like, well, on your $500,000 listing, do the great marketing here and audition for the next one. I mean, that's the only way to go ahead and progress in this market.
Right. Okay. Why do you like being a realtor? Or do you I guess I should start with, do you like being a realtor?
So this is a great question. So many of the people in my world that started when I did, if they're still in it, they're writing books and doing coaching and training, and that's like their main gig now. Everybody kind of looks for that off ramp, and I don't. I love it. So for me, it's something that I absolutely still love to do, and it's a challenge. I mean, every day you can go ahead and decide what kind of real estate agent you're going to be, and I like have you ever seen the show Ray Donovan? I feel like the Ray Donovan real estate agent. Like I'm out there, I'm solving problems like crazy. It's like you need a body buried, I'll take care of that for you. And that's been that really keeps me engaged and excited in all of it. I mean, it's if there wasn't variety, I certainly wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely one great aspect. It's just different every day. It's not like you're going to a 9 to 5 and it's the same thing. You punch a time card or whatever. You can kind of make your own career what you want it to be. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a puzzle. Every day's a puzzle. And I love puzzles. When I'm not selling houses, I'm putting together 1,000-piece puzzles for fun. So same thing.
I like that. Because that's the same, granted we're not going out there selling real estate, but like every mortgage we do, it's a puzzle, especially now. Like there is no simple mortgage
I feel
anymore.
like some of our puzzles right now are missing pieces, Steven.
They are missing the pieces.
Yeah.
It's
I
the
I
one.
And then you don't know until after like an hour and a half of going through, and you're like, "Yep, this is definitely missing this piece. That this is
yeah.
not going to work. We're gonna have to figure this out."
Why is there whiteout on the tax returns?
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't dealt with that one in a while, but
I have dealt with one where it was like, "Here's my tax returns," and we pulled a transcript, and it's like, "This is did you modify this? What you told the government?" They're like, "Maybe." Like,
Yeah.
God.
I can imagine that your world is very much like this world because there's just infinite variables that you come across. You open a file and you're like, all right, this looks like, it's 1,000 pieces and everyone's flipped upside down. So you don't really know what you got yet. And then at
Yep.
the end, it all comes together. Fingers crossed.
Sometimes we gotta, trim the pieces around, give them some down payment assistance to get them to fit. But hey, it
I
works. We'll
love
get
it.
it to.
I love it.
So, all right. What is something that maybe, during your career that you're like, I love this part of it. I know that every different puzzle, but was there one maybe transaction that stood out or something just kind of memorable that, you know,
Um, yeah, actually it was yes. So 2000 really early on in the career. So it was 2006. I met Steve Harney, who I don't know if you know Steve Harney. He owns or owned Keeping Current Matters.
okay.
He did a presentation in Madison, Wisconsin at the Edgewater, and I was there in my shiny gold coat, just as a brand new real estate agent, really excited to learn. But I still was in that mindset of that my job as a real estate agent is to go ahead and convince people to buy houses. That's it. It's like I am a salesperson slinging something, and it's all about convincing, chasing, convincing, and that was really it. So then I wasn't really comfortable in that world, and I
Hmm.
can give you a long story another time about why I'm not. But I'm just not a natural salesperson in that way. So I saw this guy speak, and then he started putting up graphs with stats, and then he started he's putting it all together, and I'm like, wow, you can actually consult somebody on what is a good decision and a bad decision instead of just, getting them to say yes. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
right.
that really feels more valuable than anything else. So ultimately, I was so glad I met this guy. And from 2006 until he just passed away, probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, he was one of the main people in my career. I moved to Florida. He connected me with everybody that he knew in Florida. This guy was you know, high rank. He's one of Inman's top, 100 most influential people. And he would just come down on a Thursday, and then we'd go ahead and rent out a country club. He'd do a class for me down. I mean, just phenomenal guy. Pick up the phone, talking to him. Anything I needed, he was there, and he showed me that this business is a true career, a profession, and I think that's the most important thing any new agent could understand is that you're not just out there getting people to yes, you're out there, guiding somebody through a decision process. So that was super cool. And now his kids run the company, and that is keepingcurrentmatters.com, if I can make a little plug, because it's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
the best data in the world.
That's
I
amazing.
know exactly what you're talking about. That's awesome. So I mean, you chose to, instead of, working at it from a sales perspective, an advisor perspective, and
Yeah,
it changed the way you approach everything.
everything. It unlocked that pride in the business instead of just like, it really makes that shift from I'm really excited about commissions, and that's how I'm going to go ahead and define my worth in this business, like how much GCI I did, how many transactions, how much volume. That's the stuff you're bragging about with your real estate peers at the happy hours and everything else. Moved it from that to what's the type of service that I provide? What was the consumer experience? Did we do everything that we could? How did it measure up? Like, how do you quantify a good job in real estate? When there's infinite variables and you can't duplicate the same transaction twice. So it really pushed me down that path. And it's hard to come up with all those answers, but
Well, yeah,
definitely a worthy
because I
pursuit.
mean, especially when you look on social media, you go to your realtor boards, everything's based on volume.
Right.
Volume determines who's a successful realtor.
Yep. And then
Volume
it pushes,
determines who's a successful loan officer. And there's times where I can't stand that. because I know some shitty realtors that have closed some transactions, and I know shitty loan officers that have closed some deals.
Yep.
But that shouldn't be the defining factor, and yet, that's just from an early stage. That's what I put on a pedestal until I started doing more and seeing some of the changes that I was making in people's lives, and then I saw a different perspective. But still, I mean, we do have to have an income, and that's how
Yep.
we make money. But at the same time, I think we can do it with some grace versus, treating everybody like numbers.
Yeah, and I think that I think the income follows great consulting. I don't think that there's, and
Right.
it puts you in a position of making great choices all the time if you don't have to worry about, where that next dollar is going to come from. I mean, it's a solid foundation of a business where everybody stresses out. And if you were always a great consultant, or, the last 5 years at least, you were a great consultant, setting all bias aside, I mean, you never have to worry about where your next transaction is going to come from. That's been my
Right.
experience.
So
Yeah, I
speaking
love
of
that.
biases, who's a better real estate agent, you or your wife?
I would say that we both get to the same place in a very different way.
Yeah,
So,
that is a compliant answer. That is perfect.
Ooh. He says, well, as soon as
yeah,
you hit stop recording, he'll tell us the real
yeah,
answer.
yeah. No, I think we've argued about that many times, but I think that a lot of people, I'm a very logic based. I mean, I'm emotionally dead inside, more or less. So
Yeah, you like
everything for me
stats.
is, yeah, I like stats. I can go ahead and figure out. I can understand how people are feeling, and I try to go ahead and prevent them from going through the stress of a real estate transaction.
Right.
But if you watch my wife work, she will weave the little threads of, of emotion and connection and all these things, on a showing that I just simply can't do. So like, it's really, really, really fun to watch where I can spreadsheet somebody to death. She can certainly go ahead and create connection like I never could.
So you guys are just a great combo.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's probably the perfect pairing in real estate. I mean,
Do you
Nice.
if somebody
recommend? Go ahead, sorry.
if somebody went ahead and called and said, I'd like to go see 3 houses today, could I work with Jody? That's probably what's going to happen. They're going to request Jody for that. If somebody says, hey, can you do a valuation on a property? They're going to call me. So our
Yeah.
clients get both sides of that.
Do
Love it.
you recommend everybody work with their spouse?
Absolutely not. No, no, it is a dangerous game, very dangerous game. And I think that in real estate, it's unique because you can do it 1,000 different ways.
Sure.
But I think
Yeah.
it's important that you go ahead and chart those rules out, and how you want to work. But I mean, you could have a husband and wife team that worked with clients completely separately, or ones that complement each other in different tasks. And I think that the leverage there is great. And then but I mean, I can tell you just on the broker side of things, I was always in those, psychology meetings where I'm trying to consult somebody who had a W-2'd employee spouse, and they just don't understand. It's like, hey, can you go ahead and run this errand? Can you go ahead and do this? You don't have a real job, So I
Yeah.
think the fact that my wife and I both are on the same footing there, we both understand how important and serious every aspect of the business is, and you can share the war stories at dinner. So I think there's a lot of pluses to it.
Love
Love
that.
it. Yeah, that's amazing. My wife definitely understands like the whole commission side of things that hey, if I'm running all these errands, I'm not working. Like, just because I
Mhm.
can run them, like there are times that I can, but if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, there's no paycheck at
Right.
all. Like nothing.
It's and that is probably the biggest challenge I'd see, just on the broker side of things, um, was seeing that divide between a W-2 employee and their commissioned spouse. Very
Yeah.
challenging dynamic.
Now, I know you talked a lot about stats and stuff. Now, there's a way of presenting because I know like, we're part of the same realtor association and they give out, I think all of them give it out. I think it comes from probably Florida realtors, but it gives out the stats every month of here's what's going on in the local area. And I see a lot of realtors just throw it out there.
Mhm.
How do you actually like I always tell them like you got to explain. Like you can't change
Yeah.
market change 1%. What does that mean? Like to me
Yeah.
as a consumer kind of thing. So how do you present your stats? Do you kind of go over them, explain them?
You
How
gotta give, I mean, you kind of think of like a stat on its own just kind of floats out there, and it means
Mhm.
absolutely nothing until you give some points to go ahead and lock in its location in the world. So all right, if things are down 1%, what were they down the month before, the year before, and in the county? So a couple, I believe you need a few timelines and then a few geographies to go ahead and truly obtain perspective there. And then further, it's, all those stats are 100% accurate, but
Yeah.
they're only accurate for the data set that the stat was run for. So if
Yep.
your house is the average house in Palm Beach County and you're running Palm Beach County stats, then sure, that works for you. But if you're a 22nd story condo on Singer Island and you're looking at Palm Beach County residential stats, that is not helpful for you at all. So, I mean, it's really important to understand that, I mean, stats are a very powerful consulting tool, and they can be an absolute mess at the same time. Like somebody says, yeah, no, it's a buyer's market right now. Well, that may not be true for 4-bedroom homes in Limestone Creek Elementary School that are under $1 million. So maybe that's an extreme seller's market because there's only 9 of them, and they're flying off the shelf. So you got to be really careful about the data sets you pull, and don't consult somebody based on a general large set of data. All
Well,
that's going to do is give them perspective.
I think part of, kind of what Stephen mentioned is some people just throw it out there, whereas like some people break it down. I think the difference is understanding the stats. I think some people just don't understand it. And they're
Yep.
like, well, this looks good or this looks bad because bad news travels fast and that gets clickbait. So people will put, bad news out there too. Like, oh, we're headed towards a market crash. Don't think we are. I think some areas might be going through a correction. But then when they look, like, there's so many times where, I'll talk to clients who are like, well, like I read this. I'm like, okay, you read what? Tell me where it came from. And it's talking about like the United States as a whole. Well, then we can't look at that.
Mhm.
Cannot look at
Right.
that. Florida is so different. Like, and especially you coming from Wisconsin, you kind of mentioned it before, but like, I don't know what's happening in Oregon, in Utah. I know what's happening in Florida, and a lot of people are moving to Florida, and there's still a lot of demand.
Right.
But then you just mentioned, seller's market, buyer's market. Yeah, everybody has this rule of the 6 month is, an even balance between buyers and sellers market. And Steve and I were on a coaching call and we kind of started talking about that. And I just like, I've been told that, but don't know where that like created the foundation for an even balance. But it's been years, so everything is updated. It's so much easier, not easier, but we can buy a house much more quickly. You can list a house much more quickly. So like just the speed of everything, I feel like a 6 month rule is out. Like I don't think that's accurate. And
I
what's your
mean,
take on that?
I I think it's more about the data set than anything else. So, I mean, I believe where this came from, just to give you the history on
Yeah.
this, because this is one of those Steve Harney slides that I saw in 2006, and I was like, well, that makes perfect sense. So they would go ahead and say, all right, terrific. Where do prices start dropping, and where do prices appreciate, and where are they stable? So I think it was reverse engineered from that, and that's where they came up with the months. So it was 5 to 7 months. That's going to be your stable market where prices stay even keel. And then you've got, before anything less than 5 months, prices are going to appreciate. You get less than 3 months, double-digit appreciation. And then on the flip side of that, you end up with 60 months of inventory, you get double-digit depreciation. So I think that's where it really came from right there, is just kind of looking at, okay, what months is going to go ahead and push prices in either direction. And that's where it became the leading indicator on pricing for us. But people use this in a large data set manner where it's like, all right, Palm Beach County has, 6.1 months of inventory. Great. Now run that for a neighborhood and see what that is. I guarantee you it's different. All right. Now run that for 4 bedrooms in the neighborhood. Guarantee you that's different. So I think the 5 to 7 months still holds true. 8 months is going to be a buyer's market, less than 5 a seller's market. But I think people just can't generalize anymore. I mean, you can break down data sets 1,000 different ways, and you have to if you're going to be a great consultant. You can't go ahead and lump townhomes and condos together. I mean, if you look at those stats that are issued from the MLS board every month, it's single family homes and then it's condos and townhomes. Well, townhomes are entirely different than condos,
Yeah.
and they need to be broken apart. So then I think you'd get a better reflection of what truly is a buyer's and seller's market in any area. So with the MLS, you can run the stats with market summary and flex MLS for a specific neighborhood but you have to create a polygon for the neighborhood. So you go ahead and manually map that neighborhood, run the market summary for that specific community, and then you're getting a little bit more accurate. It's still not 100% there, but a bit more accurate. Now you compare that when you're consulting your client, you take that, compare it to the town, compare it to the county. Now they've got some geographic perspective on how their neighborhood's performing. And then you go back and forth in time and see, that side of it as well. So I think that's how it should be used. I don't think that rule's changed. But if I spent a week doing research on that, I could probably definitively say it has or it has not.
Gotcha. No, I mean, that makes sense. Especially, I mean, we have neighborhoods around here. So, there's this very specific neighborhood, like right across the street from my wife's school, where she teaches, and homes don't really go for sale in that neighborhood. Highly desired. The neighborhood is full of families that want to live close to the school. It's walking distance, all that. And so recently a house came on the market. It seemed overpriced. And when you're just looking at it generally for like the larger area, but sure enough, it went under contract in about 24 hours, which
Right?
is very quick for right now. But it was highly desired neighborhood, but you can't use the same stats for that specific house, going 5 miles away, even though you're in the same city.
And not. You can use it for perspective and consulting, but you can't use it for anything else. So
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the same story happened in our neighborhood where we've got, a list. So where I live, it's a boating community. They own an acre and a half on the Loxahatchee River. And that's a unique feature. You can park your boat on the side of the house. I mean, there's a lot of things, half-acre lots. All these things make it very unique. And, where everybody else is looking at 60 days on market and some of these general neighborhoods, our neighborhood is just different. So we've got one where we listed it at 125, I think it was, or maybe 13. And within 24 hours, we get a contract 50,000 over asking price, just like that. And that's not 2021. That was 2 months ago. So, I mean, it is very specific. And that's why, you look at real estate agents who are working from Miami to, Melbourne. It's like, I don't even understand how you can even remotely say that you know what's going on in whatever market you're, because it's such a giant area. I mean, I
Right.
can't serve much more than Palm Beach Gardens and Jupiter. So it's pretty interesting to see. You really have to know your stuff when you go ahead and list a house.
Yeah. The house my dad just bought in Naples, the agent that they had, she dealt more towards the water. And she's like, I can help you. Where they moved is like, 10 miles away. They have a condo by the water and they wanted to get a house now. And she was like, I'm gonna have to research everything. Like she's like, I can't give you, because they were asking about, well, what does this neighborhood look like and all this, the statistics of it. And she's like, I have no clue.
I love
And
it.
she,
I
and she
love
was
that they
like,
said that.
she's like, I had to look up everything and it's gonna take me a day because I'm gonna, it's a huge neighborhood, it's a huge area. Like we're gonna have to go break all these numbers down. And
I don't know who that agent is, but that's the
yeah,
most brilliant thing that they could possibly say, because it's 100% true. When I work outside of my market, in the rare cases that I do, everything that takes me 1 hour in my market takes me 10 there, because it's like I'm like a baby deer, got to start all over.
yeah.
So
Little
Now, in
Bambi
that
deer.
situation, are you better off doing the research and then providing like the answer, or do you think you're better off like referring to another agent that knows that area specifically?
I mean, if it's a listing, I think you just have to know what your geographic strengths are and what your marketing strengths are, and kind of weigh that call. So I say, what's your alternative? So we got a referral for Boca. I don't sell houses in Boca. I don't go to Boca. I mean, I barely even knew where Boca was before we took this listing, but it was listed and failed to sell twice by two other agents. And so it was referred to me by an attorney. And I was like, all right, well, I'll take a look. And then I said, I really don't know the area. And I'll tell you where this is a weakness for me if you hire me as your agent. When someone comes to the community, I'll be able to tell them more about the house than any other agent that you hire, more about that community than any other agent that you hire, even though I'm not from there. What I can't do is when they say, how does this compare to the neighborhood across town? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. And that's a key skill, I think, that a listing agent definitely needs, and a buyer's agent is, it's an unbreakable rule.
Right.
So I think you've got to be super honest on the front end and say, like, so all those things said, if you still want to hire me, I can tell you that the marketing is going to draw enough people here that may not be an issue, because our marketing is superior to the agent that you were going to hire. And sometimes I'll turn it down 2 or 3 times. They call me back, are you sure you don't want to do this? And then I go ahead and look at the agent that they're going to hire and they're from 60 miles away. And I'm like, you know what? If you're gonna make that choice, let's just go with me. I'll do it. It's gonna take me a little bit more time, but we'll figure it out and we'll get it done. Um, so I think you just have to be super honest with everybody when you go ahead and go down that road. In the in the sorry, my dog's in the background here. Um, in the spirit of do I refer it out? I always try to do that first. Sometimes they won't let me.
Right.
Gotcha.
How does, like you mentioned, your marketing is definitely going to stand out, and it may not even help it help make it not an issue, or but how does your marketing stand out?
So photography is top notch. So no corners cut there, and that's where it starts. Like we talked about earlier,
Mhm.
it's 100% the most expensive part of our business is going to be the photography and production of all of our marketing materials on the front end. So it's the whole work. So we just did one where it was ambient photography to catch. I mean, everything. We will do everything. So top notch video, top notch daylight shot, drone, aerial, the perspective of where it is. We're going to highlight the points around there, like the Jupiter Inlet or whatever the case may be. And then genuine twilights. I don't know if you guys have seen the digital twilights out there, but you can't have hard shadows in a twilight photo. It just looks weird. It's like
Yeah.
it's nighttime, but there's shadows. This is so
Yeah.
bizarre.
Are
So
they
we
are
do.
they do the little like you could tell the lights are fake on? Like
Oh
they go,
yeah.
they're like just a little bit off, and you're like, that's not where the light bulb is, but okay.
What was it a foggy evening outside of Boston when you shot this photo? It is a little bit bizarre. So we do genuine twilights where we're there the entire, night. Then we do a huge amount of post-production work, on the back end, whether it's digital staging, and now we can do so on our vacant properties or properties that don't have, model perfect furniture. We can go ahead and digitally stage them and then CGI turn them into a moving video, which we couldn't do before. And that was always the weak link, is that we digitally stage a room. We've got a great photo, but video, it's still going to look like it did because we can't
Yeah.
edit that video. So now we can
Right.
do CGI videos out of still images, and that's a game changer for us as well. So all that gets the buzz in there, and then it's just a huge amount of time, effort, and energy to go ahead and get that material out to as many people as possible. So Google pay-per-click ads, Instagram, Facebook are huge for us. Right now, we're negotiating a couple other big things with the big home clearing houses like Zillow and things like that. As they become the necessary evil in my world. And so there's been a lot there, floor plans, site plans, everything done at a really high level. I mean, basically, you just have to be your goal from a marketing standpoint is to have every answer to every question so that that buyer can make a decision quicker, because that's the biggest challenge that we have is that buyer making a decision with any sort of speed in this market.
Yeah, I know that they're definitely slower at making decisions. And then you're just, from the mortgage standpoint, we always say a confused buyer isn't going to buy, just going to sit on there. Like we have to go over their numbers and every product, and here's the pros and cons. And you're doing that for the listing. Like, hey, here's everything. So you have, as a buyer coming in, like, I know what I'm going to get into looking at this.
Yeah, and I
And
mean, when
there's
they
no
get there,
confusion over it.
there's no confusion. When they get there, I mean, it's uh, probably 2 out of 5 showings we have, the buyer will thank us. Be like, hey, thank you so much for having all this information. It's like, you know what, we want to move the fence. Can we move the fence between the house? It's like, yeah, it's 5 feet off the front corner of the house. That's what the architectural, guidelines say for the community. I'm like, oh, fantastic. Well, moving on. Otherwise, they would have left wondering if their dog is going to have enough space to run. And then
Right.
that they cool off in that period, and it becomes, this stagnation. And I think it was Gary Keller, another one of those pivotal moments in my life. He says, your job is not to get somebody to say yes, it's to keep them out of maybe. I was like, oh, that's so smart. So
Yeah.
smart. It's like, doesn't matter which direction they go, whether it's yes or no, but maybe is not productive for them or you.
Yeah.
So, and that's,
Yeah, maybe it's worse.
yeah. And for 2025, we're running databases of like 150 prospects for a single listing. So you've got to go ahead and qualify those people or disqualify them. It doesn't matter, but you can't
That's a
just keep.
conversion. People don't realize a no is you're converting them still. Hey, no, move
Absolutely.
on. Yeah, if you
Yep.
keep people in the maybes, that's why like we have lead trackers and seeing everything. When it says like new lead, it means I haven't talked to them at all.
Hmm.
Well, I'm like, they gotta go green or red? Like they need to. I can't keep them on this white. Did you stay white on the spreadsheet? Like green means they're moving forward. Red means hey they disqualified, moved on, whatever. But I got my answer. Like let
Yeah.
it go.
There's a long line of people out there that have conditions that need to be met, not objections to be overcome. And you've got to go ahead and you've got to follow up with them. But if they are contingent and they don't have contingent on the sale of their house, they don't have their house listed yet. I mean, that's a no for this specific seller based on their circumstances. You're off my list. You're not going to get a call on Tuesday. You put your home under contract. Terrific, but it's not even listed yet. So
Yeah. Awesome. Love it. So besides your great marketing and having the superwoman of a wife, is there anything that sets you apart from real estate? You know, any other realtors that are out there? Or maybe
um,
something you might think, maybe something that you think people are missing, that missing piece.
yeah, I think the missing piece is just, you've really got to the missing piece is experience for most people, or they have time in market, but they just weren't aware. I mean, there is so many little things that go into the transaction that would be a 60-hour podcast that
Yeah.
seem, inconsequential, but they are huge. Like we just had I mean, you guys probably are dealing with this right now. We just had a short appraisal, significantly short. And to go ahead and figure out how to go ahead and put that back together after, something like that, open heart surgery on a transaction right there,
Yeah.
that is a huge, huge piece of the puzzle. So I think agents, just generally speaking, need to be super aware. Like, all right, so this just happened today. What did I learn from this? And I don't think they ask that enough. They just kind of go from the one problem to the next, and it's the same problem over and over and over again. So that's a piece to it. I mean, if you're looking, we're 100% referral and repeat. So everything that we do is to serve our client. 100% of our generation, lead conversion, unless it's to convert a buyer for our listing. But if you go back in the day, how we got to this point, we had all kinds of things that were fun to talk about on a podcast.
Mhm.
So it was, we had, and we still do this today. It's called the happiness guarantee. So if somebody buys a house from us, we go ahead and sell it for free within 2 years of their purchase. So in our time down here in Florida, we probably sold, I don't know, 400 homes since 2014, and we've sold 11.
Oh, did he freeze on us?
Yeah,
Can
he's
you see
getting
me?
something good.
Oh, you
Oh, there you
froze.
are. Okay,
Hey,
so
400 homes. You sold how many? You froze at how many you might have sold for free?
11.
11.
11?
11. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 11 homes there. And this whole program came from, 2013 or 14. I was sitting there and I'm like, we really need a hook to go ahead and capture buyers down here in South Florida. We're going to do a lot of open houses. What would be the hook that we can use that doesn't cost money because we don't have any? And it was, all right, let's just sell it for free if they need to move for any reason. And people were coming down here for Pratt Whitney and, UTC and all these different companies down here, and they got shipped out, sometimes within 12 months of moving down here and buying a house. So for us, it was like, well, the people are going to see value in this, and they did. So I mean, that's one of the things that we did early on that we still do today. We also had um, a client perks program, so that was a great value add. So anybody that's looking to build their business, there's a guy, his name's Russell Rhodes. I think he's Berkshire Hathaway Home Services out of Flower Mound, Texas, maybe somewhere in Texas. Anyway, this guy always was on the list of top 10 agents in the entire country for Keller Williams Realty over and over and over again. And but he would never go up on stage and talk. I was like, this guy, like, so finally I'm walking through a convention and I peek into a random breakout room and I see him up in the front of the stage. So I slide in there and I'm like, all right, let's see how he does this. And we're talking like $4 million in gross commission income a year kind of success on a referral and repeat based business. So I was like, this is phenomenal. Like, I can't believe he's not the main stage guy forever. So I slide in there and I hear him talk about it. He's like, hey, so just a really calm guy. He's like, hey, so this is what we do. Um, we send out a postcard to our clients 4 times a year with a shopping list of things that we'll store for them and they can use whenever they want. It's our client loyalty program. So we have like 6 margarita machines, outdoor movie theater, all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's brilliant. So I go ahead and I call my wife from Texas and I'm like, we're doing a client perks program. We're going to call it client perks. It's going to be fantastic. And we're launching it tomorrow. So the first thing we bought was this $300 pressure washer from Costco. And then we would go ahead and send out a Google form to our database 4 times a year that says, what do you want us to buy next? So we ended up with paddle boards, outdoor movie theater, popcorn machines, all kinds of tools. People wanted tools. So we had all these tools. And for me, it was perfect because they would just show up to my house to go ahead and take these things. And that was, instead of going to the happy hours or the birthday parties or anything like that, it was that 10-minute exchange after the close that created this loyalty, or continued that relationship on beyond closing in a very natural way where they were appreciative. And we had people showing up in their, $90,000 BMW SUVs and throwing this pressure washer in the back of it to go do their own lanai out in the country club. And I was just amazed by that.
Now, would they give it back to you?
Yeah, they would
They're
give
like
it back.
renting it for free.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we had after we did this for a few years, we had an attorney go ahead and draft a liability waiver for some of the things that we had. As they said, that was smart. And yeah, so I mean that was a great tool for us to have too. So we've done a lot of things along the way. Our business is remarkably streamlined and simplified right now with 100% focus on client service, and that's really it. And to quantify that is, something that we work really hard to do. So in our buyer presentations and listing presentations, just understanding how everything works. We took a listing the other day and we said, so why did you choose us? And I said, because you were able to explain the why behind everything at a higher level than anybody else could. It's the stats, it's how Zillow works, it's how the MLS works, it's all these things. So
I love that because I am a huge stat person too, and I love going over. People are like, I don't even know what my rate's supposed to be, and I'm like, well, let's look at them. Like here, like I love pulling back the curtain. Like I'm going to show you what every other lender will not show you, or they don't understand themselves. Like here's all the rates. Here's what it costs to buy it down. Here's where here's your ROI. Does it make sense to do it or not, kind of thing. And they're always like, well, what would you do? And I'm like, here's what I would do, but it's your money. Like you want to buy it down 5 points and we can do it, go for it. I wouldn't do
right.
it, but like here's what it looks like.
Yeah, I think that's a huge deal is people just want to, I mean, they do want to peek behind the curtain. And I think that people that don't offer the peek behind the curtain aren't sure the value they provide. And they
Yeah.
think that holding that information back is a great way to go ahead and, mystify the lack of value. So, opening that curtain, I mean, to everything that's beneficial to them, we shield them from the stress and open the curtain to the things that, are going to be helpful in the
Yeah.
consulting process.
Yep. Perfect. Love it.
Brett, what is one piece of advice? Like some of the stuff you just explained, I think is awesome advice. And for a realtor listening right now, I think that if they're not writing something down and taking something that you just said, they're stupid. But as far as like a newer agent, what's one piece of advice that you could give to a newer agent getting started like right now?
Do everything in 12-month commitments. Not, I'm going to try it. I think that's the biggest challenge everybody has because they immediately split themselves in 17 directions, diluting their energy and their focus, and they're not willing to go ahead and do anything long enough to see the results. Everything takes time. It could be as short as 6 months, but more than likely in that 6 to 12-month range is where you're going to see the fruit of all your labor. And I'd say most people quit after the week number 2 or 3. So, and then they just go on to the next thing. And the other piece of the puzzle too is don't listen to the gurus. The gurus are selling books and seminars and classes. So they're standing up there and giving you information that's saleable. And people buy clarity when the reality is if you were able to shadow them for a week, they only do half of the stuff that they talk about half of the time. So I think that's, people go to these conventions, they get all fired up. They scrap everything that they were doing that was about 2 months away from working, start over with this new magical plan. And that's exactly what they're doing is starting over. And they're going to find out that, what they took as gospel is really just a saleable pitch of some piece of value from another agent or a guru or, whatever the case may be. That's probably 10 years disconnected from the front lines of selling real estate.
Oh man, I've talked to Stephen about this. Like I love our coaching program. Like we've got mortgage coaching. It's like run by TMF, the mortgage firm. Like it's all in-house, but the coaches are top producing loan officers that are currently working in the market, like getting our head beat in occasionally. And, just like, so getting coached and, talking to other loan officers that are going through that, like I can appreciate that. but I will never get coached by a professional coach. Like
Right.
you're not a licensed loan officer dealing with this right now. How can you even relate to me? You have no
Right.
idea what I'm going through. Like
I'll
I
I'll
don't
take I'll take
Yeah.
that professional coach for accountability, but if they give me advice on how
correct.
to actually do my day to
Exact. Yep.
day, no go.
Yeah.
No go.
And it's funny. It's
So
like I
true.
teach some realtor classes. One's on social media, but the other one is like how to convert contacts to clients. And it's like people go and they're like, "Oh, it's so simple," and I'm like, "Yeah, just keep doing it." Like that's the thing is
Mhm.
you guys start
Consistency.
doing it, and then like, "Oh, it didn't work," and like you said, like 12 months, just commit to 12 months. Like if you do, like I go in basic, like if you talk to these people, if you have a 400% database that you really love on, like that's all you need. Like you really don't even need that many people. If you really have 50 VIPs that you're their go-to person and you just love on those 50 people, I'm like, you could probably close 100 transactions a year if you wanted to.
Right.
But
Yep.
you
That's
you won't even do that. You want to go find that next shiny object and hope that gets you rich quick.
yeah, that's everybody's looking for the shortcut. There is no shortcut. And the only other advice that I would have for them is treat them all like gold, treat all clients like gold and keep that kind of, being recruited model in your mind where I'm auditioning for my next big listing. So do everything right, perfect and
Okay.
beautiful on
Yep.
on every one. Otherwise, you're going to be following those gurus cold calling strategies for 30 years and hating life. So it's a big piece of that puzzle.
Everybody loves cold calling, Brett. Everybody.
No, 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 no. I mean, it's a necessary evil for some, but it shouldn't last. Like so that 2014 start for Jody and I, where we went ahead and started working together, we paid Zillow, Realtor.com, did cold calling. I was in the office every day at 7, and we did one unit, that January, no units that February, 3 units in March, 2 units in April, 1 unit in May, 13 units in June. So if you look at kind of how that all just accumulates, and that first year that we worked together, we did 44 units. The goal was 40. And that was how we crafted our entire vision was we want to do 40 transactions better than anybody else.
Mhm.
That's it. We don't want it and nothing more than that. So, and so then we go ahead and once we hit that June with 13 transactions, we go ahead and cut all the marketing spend by 50%. By the end of 12 months, we cut it all to zero, and it became referral and repeat after that. 100% nonstop ever since then. So 12 months, your life can change if you stay focused. But if you're just all over the place, that's a hard way to launch a career.
Yeah, I love that. Like you like you said, you use the necessary evils to get yourself started so you could have basically build your database and then start
Yep.
loving on them and then it took off.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a fun study I did on the floor. They call it the pit because it was where all the cubicles were, where I took, maybe 2 years in, I charted every one of our real estate transactions with a circle. And it was done in generations. So it was all first generation transactions. And then you could see that there were, I don't know, 5 or 6 that grew down to like 13 transactions referred from one single transaction here.
Yeah.
And then you start to really understand, like when you can visualize that, it's like, oh yeah, so this was all that grind across the top, and then this is the fruit of the labor that grows down. And it was so cool to see. And then we also realized really quickly there that, some of our best friends were not referring business to us and some strangers were, and we got to figure out why that was. It was really cool exercise.
Yeah, I think every real estate agent I talk to when I teach one of the classes, I'm like, all right, I want you to write down, you know, at their experience, like write down every transaction that you did and where that person came from. And wherever they came from, that's what you focus on.
Yep,
Like start
absolutely.
there. Just go there.
Yeah, we found very quickly that perspective was the number one ingredient in people referring business to us. They previously worked with an agent and immediately shifted to us. So they fired their agent, worked with us, and only then can they directly compare the service that we provide to the service of another real estate agent. So that was the missing ingredient. And also some of our best friends that were just like, you're our guy forever. They're not going to be super, I mean, well, you got me to the finish line. Any real estate agent could have done that. It's the ones that just work with somebody then worked with us and could draw that line. They're like, these are the people. So
Yeah.
very, very cool aspect of referral business.
Love it. Love it.
Wow.
Well, Brett, I want to say thank you for coming on. Some great knowledge. As Derek said, anybody that was listening on here did not take a tidbit away. You must have had it on mute the whole time. There's no way. So much stuff in here. But is there anything else you want to say before we end this?
I would say thank you guys for having me on this podcast. I think this is the only podcast I've done in my entire life because they scare me. So I really appreciate
This is easy.
I feel like the trust relationship I have with you, Steven, this is the zone right here. So
See?
I like it a lot. And Derek, it's a pleasure meeting you. You guys are fantastic. So this was a
Yeah,
whole lot of fun.
thanks for coming on. If anybody wants to try and find you, easiest way. Googling
E-
Brett Boettge. I want people just to Google Brett Boettge and
yeah,
guess how to spell the last name.
just see where that lands you.
Yeah.
No, my email for the last 15 years is the same. It's Brett, Brett, at propertyreveal.com. So that's how you find me.
Easy enough.
Perfect. Love
Awesome.
it. Thank you, Brett. This has been another episode of the Brutally Honest Loan Officer Podcast. See you guys next week.
See ya.